The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every Tuesday by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. This week, we hear from a living legend. Erich Kallman is the Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of Erich and Kallman. Over the past 6 years, he has built Erich and Kallman with outstanding work for brands like General Mills, Disney Plus, Chick-fil-A, Hershey, and many others. Erich has been named to the Creativity 50, which is a multidisciplinary account of the biggest and best thinkers and doers from 20 years of advertising and consumer culture. He has won hundreds of international advertising awards, including the Grand Effie, Best of Show at the One Show, the Andes, back-to-back at AICP, and even a Primetime Emmy Award for Best Commercial. In addition to all of that, his 8 yellow pencils and 2 black pencils make him the 3rd most awarded copywriter in D&AD history. I recall learning about his Old Spice ads, the Man Your Man Can Smell Like, and Skittles Taste the Rainbow ads in college. So it's surreal and a pleasure to have Erich on. So what I can do to help you out now is if you're following us on LinkedIn and Instagram, you can reach out to me directly, Gino Schellenberger, and I'm happy to make a connection for you with Erich if he has the time. But you have to be following us on both accounts. Now, on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right. Erich Kallman, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Where are you at right now?
I am in a tiny little single office that's about 3 minutes away from my house up in the suburbs of San Francisco, Marin County. We work in the office in San Francisco Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we Monday and Friday it from home, but I have kids and dogs and all kinds of stuff going on. So I got a little tiny, I got a tiny 10 by 15 foot office nearby. It's where I hunker down and get stuff done Monday and Friday.
Okay. Interesting. So a lot to talk about this episode. Talk about you, your agency, your break-in, some of your famous campaigns. So we'll kick it off. Tell us about what you're doing today and how you founded your agency and what it's all about.
Oh, man. Well,
yeah.
What am I doing today?
Yeah.
Ads, real exciting stuff. Same old. How we started the agency. So I came up at Side Day, New York. Then I went to Wieden & Kennedy in Portland. And after that, I went to New York and I got to help start Barton F. Graf 9000, which became Barton F. Graf and is no longer with us. And in doing that, just kind of going from 2 or 3 people, up to, 40-ish people. By the time I left, I'm really into what I do. Like I get excited about it, and doing it, in such a small environment kind of felt less like a job and more like a club or something, right? It was just exciting every day. And you got to know everybody and be involved with every part of it, which I really liked. After that, I went to Goodby Silverstein Partners, another big place. But it was after that I knew it's like, hey, I'd love to do again something like what I got to be a part of it at Barton F. Graf. So after I left Barton, when I was looking for what's next, Steve Erich, my partner now, was president of Crispin Porter in Boulder headquarters. And I was there interviewing, and he offered me the job to be the head creative there, as Rob Riley had just departed. And at the time, my wife was pregnant with our first. So I'm from the Bay Area. And so I also had a job offer from Goodby. And I just thought it seemed like the best thing to do for us to go be among friends and family as we were about to go into the craziness of having our first kid. So,
right.
Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. But yeah, then after I left Goodby, I was like, okay, I know I want to do what happened at Barton again. How do I find my business partner half. And I talked to some mutual friends, and they all said, "Well, do you know this guy, Erich? He's looking to do the same thing." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I loved Steve. I didn't end up getting to work with him, but I mean, as wonderful and as well qualified as he gets. So, um, yeah, so that's how that kind of all came together.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And we'll definitely pick that apart now, but can you tell me what the agency has come to? What are your current clients? What are you guys working on?
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
size? Give me the rundown of where you guys, what it's looking like today.
Yeah, we're about 50 people. I'd
Hmm.
say we're probably a little more than half Bay Area located, as well as all the creative department is in the Bay because I like working, with the creative departments kind of hands on in person. Um, and then, a little less than half is remote all over the
Sure.
country. Um, things are good. Things are busy. I always do this. I always only remember the client that I've been working on like that day, the one or two
Yeah,
clients.
that's fair. That's fair.
So if you're asking, let me look it on up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Just
while
have
you,
oh, go ahead.
and I know while you're looking that up, remind me, did you say you're in office on Friday or you're in
No, we're in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
okay. Well,
So we're
I'm coming to San Francisco this Friday.
oh, really?
Actually, yeah, for my birthday, and my best friend lives out there. So
Where does your best friend live?
Marina,
In the marina, the neighborhood in
the
San Francisco.
Marina.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
never been. So
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
maybe,
awesome.
you're not far from there.
Yeah, I'm about the marina's right by the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm just north of San Francisco, so I'm about 10 minutes
Okay.
after you go across the Golden Gate Bridge.
All right.
So
Well, I'll
just
hit you up. We'll see
in the
what's going
very
on.
close burbs. That's
Cool.
awesome. What are we working on? We're working on a little Disney Plus, a little Lucid Motors, a Great Wolf Lodge. What else is hot right now? Doing some stuff for Take 5 oil change and car wash, which we love.
I saw some interesting. Yeah, you wrote about that in an article. I think that was on Muse by Cleo.
Oh
Tell
yeah.
me what's going on with that.
We just came out with a recent round of work. Right now, we're thinking of some. We just did another round of TV and video for them and radio, like traditional stuff. So right now, we're working on some non-traditional ideas that we're pretty stoked on. So that's going through the process there. And yeah, what else is hot? Kelly Services, they're awesome. Um, I don't know. Uh, some more work for Hershey's, which owned all kinds of chocolate sweets and treats and snacks. Um,
Nice.
and
But you have some candy background.
yeah, yeah, that's right. I haven't lucky to have gotten to work on a lot of candy briefs. That's for sure.
Yeah, with Skittles,
Um,
some great work. We'll talk
right.
about that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Okay. So the agency's doing well.
Yeah,
And
agency's doing great.
you hiring at all right now?
Uh, not in the creative department. I'm
Okay.
not sure about the other departments. But yeah, we're fortunate. We've had, even during COVID and even during what's going on in the economy right now, we've been fortunate enough to have just steady growth for about 6 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And where were you just having kids, or what part of your life did you start this agency?
It
Because is that feasible for somebody starting out a family?
no, it's a terrible idea. Don't do it.
Okay.
Let's see. We
Because Seth
started
Gaffney did this as well with
what?
Preacher.
Oh, yeah.
I was
It's
like, are you
great,
kidding me?
man. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Delaney was probably in her twos, and Jacob was literally just born as we started the agency.
Oh wow.
I love being the dad, but that's kind of what life is all about is, obviously family first
Yeah.
and then business, which is pretty exciting and fun to do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of passion there. And I want to kick it back now to your break-in story, how you got to where you're at today, where you're still doing what you love and you're doing really, really well. You're one of the most awarded creatives to ever live. I think I've read that somewhere, um, which is incredible. You have some of the best campaigns of all time worked on. Like I was telling you before we recorded, we studied your Old Spice campaign at University of Illinois, and like the foundation of breaking that down was so interesting. So you've done a lot and you've worked at some of the best agencies. So I want to start from, when did you decide, or do you remember that moment when you said, I want to do advertising? I want to create ads for a living.
Yeah. I studied journalism and broadcasting in college. And the best thing I did in college was dive in and do as many internships as I could at TV and radio stations. Because basically by the time I graduated, the thing I knew for sure is I didn't want to do that for a living.
Which is
Um,
great.
which is really, really great. I needed a job though. So right after I graduated, I had my first job at an NPR radio station down in Santa Barbara County. I was the local host of Morning Edition. Um, and we did that for probably about a year. And then, I mean, I just knew, you know, I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I just couldn't keep doing that, you know? So I actually quit that job, moved home into basically the downstairs of my grandparents' house, which is really fun to do when you're 23.
Your grandparents' house?
Yeah, yeah, my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
And, and I remember, just trying to figure it out what I was going to do next. And I had my college course catalog, and I was a communications major technically. So I went back through and I looked at all the classes, and the only one I didn't take was Introduction to Advertising. And I was like, oh, advertising, like, oh yeah, commercial. I can think of stuff like that.
What made you go back to the course catalog though?
Because I had no idea what I wanted to do, like for a
Oh,
career,
sure.
what I even could do. It was just
Mhm.
laying there. Let's
Okay.
check. Um, because I mean, I don't have any friends or family that were in advertising.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that there was a job called copywriter and they worked in teams with an art director. I didn't know any of that.
You didn't have Mad Men.
Yeah. So I called around. So I found the 4A's website and clicked on San Francisco and called all the ad agencies. And I didn't know the difference between like Goodby Silverstein and like Bob's Advertising on the corner. And I just asked everyone, like, I'm a recent college graduate and I would love to learn more about click, and just kept getting hung
So,
up
yeah.
on. Finally, I got into one agency, um, and an account guy was willing to meet with me. Super nice dude.
Nice.
Then he explained his job to me. And then I was like, yeah, but who like thinks of the idea or maybe writes a script or whatever, And he goes, oh, that's the creative department. I said,
Mhm.
how do you do that? They said, you go to ad school. So then, um, I sat in on a class at Miami Ad School in San Francisco. Um,
Mhm.
and I watched, a dozen or so students, tape up their little drawings and doodles and stuff on the wall and take the teacher through, ideas. And I just clicked. I'm like, oh, I think I think this aligns with what I might be good at. So I got really stoked. I went to 1/4 of Miami Ad School. It cost 10 grand. That's all the money I had. So then luckily I was saved by a woman copywriter in San Francisco named Lori Nygaard. She started a night school. She taught it at ad school and thought it was crazy that it cost so much.
Yeah.
So she started a school at night for $1,000 a quarter, which I could figure out.
Sure.
It was all creative directors from Goodby came down and taught it, which,
Ah.
back in the day, early 2000s, they were, close to as good as it gets. Right. So had some great teachers.
They're doing that now.
Oh yeah. They started a more kind of official internal thing, right?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, with Balser heading it
That's right.
now.
Over
Yeah,
there. Awesome.
the
Awesome.
academy.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, I got my book together from there. Um,
That's incredible.
the one thing I would say, like, if you're going to ask at some point for advice on like how to succeed, how to get in, how to succeed, it all has to come down to like ambition and effort, really.
Yeah.
Like, I went to, this is back, you didn't have website for your book.
Mhm.
I think I had $200 left. Once I was happy with it, I went to Kinko's and printed 20 copies. And I had A, B, C, and D list,
Mhm.
of the agency, my dream agency, the B listed agencies, C list, and then, okay, if I need a job, I'll work here. My
Sure.
idea was, I thought this was, I don't know if this is smart or not. I sent books to my A list agencies. And I waited for 2 weeks. So it'd be floating around their office longer. Right. And then then I mailed a bunch more to the B list. And then the C, it's different now with links, but the thinking being, if all I can do is going to get this thing, into that building, let's have it be at the places I want to work the most for longer. Um, and also the other thing I did, which was crazy, is like anyone who had taught me in ad school or that I knew that was then working, I just made a list of
Mhm.
all the creative directors working on the accounts at the places I want to work. And I just, pestered people with emails, like really pestered them. And that's actually how I ended up getting the first gig. They're the creative director at Shy New York named Joel Rodriguez, super cool guy. Um, he didn't write back to my emails, but I finally bugged him enough where he was luckily a nice guy and finally had him where he wasn't too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Wrote back. I flew out to New York. He went with me. He said, I think this would be great for Scott and Ian, who are the CDs on Skittles.
Mm-hmm.
My book was out there. I'm not one of those people that maybe took the teacher's advice as far as showing a range. My student book was pretty wild, and that kind of like a Skittles ad.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate that they liked it.
You're saying there wasn't a lot of range, or there was a lot of range?
There wasn't a lot of tonal range.
Just straight up, really what you were good at. You went all in on
Yeah. I mean,
humor, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Humor. Wacky, irreverent. Now I'm in my 40s. I probably gravitate towards things more mainstream.
Oh,
But
yeah, but you can do it all now.
Early 20s, I was being as cutting edge, going for it as you could.
Yeah.
Scott Patron and Ian Reichenthal liked it. Very fortunate to get my first job writing under them.
Right, and that was for Skittles.
Yeah,
and that campaign was that Taste the Rainbow.
Yeah, they had come out with the very first round of it, just a few months before I sent out my book, and that campaign, it was so different. Even at the beginning,
Oh
it was
my
so
gosh.
different. I
Amazing.
remember being like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I want to work on this." So lucky that I actually got a chance to do it.
Yeah, and I know. Was Blank the Rainbow FCB Chicago? Was that later on in life?
No, that was always from Shy New York. As far as
Got it.
Some Word the Rainbow, Taste the Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, that was from the inception of the campaign.
Right, where the man picks up the phone and everything. It's like the Midas touch, but he touches everything, turns to Skittles. You wrote that?
Yeah, myself, along with my longtime partner Craig Allen, who has an agency in Austin now called Kallman.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that one. What was the first Skittles one I got to do?
Beard.
Beard. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
Beard.
was wild.
Oh my gosh, with the beard of the man. It was a job interview.
Yeah,
I was on,
I had
and
a
the
job
beard.
interview, and to win over the woman interviewing him, his very long beard picked up Skittles and fed it to her and stroked the side of her face.
It's just
You know.
hilarious. And that and Stable.
Oh yeah, Stable's wild. Stable, that guy, that actor. You have a crazy story with that. The first shoot that Craig and I were allowed to cover on our own, without our creative directors being there, we shot Stable the first day and Touch the second day. And
Oh my goodness.
we go to shoot, and the first take with our Stable guy with a big prosthetic udders on, it's like action. And this guy was a energetic, fun guy in auditions, and he could barely get a line out, an older gentleman. And and we're like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And he pulled us aside and he explained, like, "Look, I haven't peed in a number of days." So they took him into like a back room and laid him on his back. And this is like 9 a.m. We're in the middle of a farm in the middle of nowhere. They send a PA, I think, with like a few $1,000 to the nearest hospital just to try to bribe some doctor to come out. We just literally sit there for the whole day. Then in the afternoon, some doctor pulled up with his scrubs and velvet slip-ons, I remember, and he had like guitar cases in the backseat of his car. He was like, "The doctor is in." And they take him back. They open the door to this trailer with 4 guys laying on his back, but he's still got the prosthetic udders on,
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, haven't seen this one before. And he goes in, they shut the door. And basically what happens, I think, over the next half hour is they give him a catheter.
Yeah, of course.
And drain him up there. And he comes out holding a paper bag, the doctor, and he says something like, "We struck gold." And the actor still wants to go on and shoot the spot.
Oh, heck yeah.
So the first take was at something like 9 a.m, and the second take wasn't until like 9 p.m. And we shot till, the wee hours of the morning, but we got it.
Yeah. Yeah, explain the ad real quick for the people that haven't seen it just yet, because it's hilarious. It's
Oh
it's kind
yeah,
of definitely weird, definitely kind of gross, but hilarious.
yeah. The way Skittles scripts worked was, well, the campaign that was established throughout the 80s and 90s with always, black and white, Merlin the magician, a rainbow comes and it rains Skittles, and it was very, I don't know the word. It wasn't humor based, right? And so,
No.
I know I wasn't part of it, but the original team that pitched a bunch of campaigns, they were pitching funny work. I think finally Skittles were like, we're not the funny candy, we're the magical candy. So then we kind of landed on this rule where all the scripts would always be kind of a mundane world, but there would always be one thing that's crazy magical that would never be that way. But it just went, it was just expected, right? They're like, no one thought it was weird. Like the guy that the job interview could use his beard like a arm, right? Or in this case, there was a guy who he was hooked up, he had udders and he was hooked up to a milking machine in a barn and he was getting milked while he was eating sour Skittles. And the farmer comes in to yell at him because he's making the milk sour.
Right.
And he basically tells the farmer to go screw.
It's so it's hilarious. It's like twisted, weird,
Yeah.
magic. Just it's awesome.
But the
And
second day, well, I don't have to tell you if you want to move on, but then crazy,
go ahead.
that was the first time we got the cover spot without creative director. So we were terrified, because it wasn't exactly the smoothest shoot.
Sure.
The next day we were shooting touch. And, the big thing that happened there was, we had a full size plexiglass shell of a desk that was physically filled up with Skittles. And when the old man, not the old man, the gentleman who works in the
Sure.
video store, when he hit his fist on the desk, we blew up the plastic. That was the plan. And then all the Skittles freely fall, right?
What do you get? One take?
Yeah. So it's an in camera effect. So we do that first take of the day, but only the charges on one side of the desk blew.
Okay.
It's like one half slowly collapsed and the other kind of, and it just didn't look right. So we went on and filmed the rest of the spot all day while the effects guys built as fast as they could a second desk. And we were on location at like a storefront where, there's strict rules about how late you can shoot
Sure.
in LA. And we have the second one built and, people feverishly filling it up with Skittles because the cops are there. They're like, hey, you got to stop shooting. And we're like, we're just going to roll on this take. When we're out of film, we're done. Everyone gets in position. And one of the corners of the desk, the two pieces of plexiglass that come together to form a 90-degree angle, it's so hot in there from shooting all day, all the lights, it starts to give, and the Skittles start water falling out. So we put in a PA to hold it shut. And we were like, 1, 2, 3, and he runs and dives. They blow it up with, 100 times as many charges. So they want to make sure they got it right this time. Everyone in the room got pelted with like Skittles, like a shotgun.
Shrapnel.
Yeah, it was wild, but luckily both those spots turned out.
Yeah, that's amazing. He had the young production assistant, probably somebody just broke in holding it before the explosion.
The director would like on 3 jump out of frame, and he
Of
would
course.
away on the right side of frame. And we go 1, 2, 3. He lets go and takes 2 steps and dives entirely through frame from right to left. And I mean, he was an athletic guy. He's like horizontal,
Sure.
So there were frames of that shot where the desk blows up, where they paint out his horizontal legs 3 feet in the air.
I bet that footage is probably hilarious. So
Yeah,
it's get a hold of
long
that.
time ago, but it's still crazy memory.
Yeah. What year was that?
Great question. Touch was probably, I started
2005, 8.
probably somewhere between 2005 and 2007, maybe.
Okay.
I think. Sometime in there.
Yeah. Okay. Give or take a year or two.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I want to go back over your break-in story here because it's so important and it's what we talk about on this show.
Yeah.
You went undergrad, you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do. You looked at your course catalog, you saw advertising, you thought you would give it a shot.
Yeah. It seemed like it could be fun, right?
Yeah. Then you figured out you might have to go to portfolio school. You did that for one semester in Miami ad school. And way too expensive. That's still like that's still an issue today. So
Oh
I would
yeah.
like to see your take on that. Like, is there a better way to break in now?
I, it's a great question. I actually think you more likely have to go to ad school now just because it became the thing that everyone did. I think back when I came up, some people went and a lot of people didn't,
Okay.
and it was still as that world was taking off. But now, programs like VCU Brand Center are so good
Yeah, definitely for
that
strategy.
you come out so ahead, like you get your head around it better, obviously. And then they also have all the resources with the recruiters and stuff to get you placed.
Mhm.
Um, So I would say back when I started, you didn't have to go. I kind of think if you want to give yourself your best shot in your career,
Mhm.
might have to now. I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible or like,
No, yeah,
yeah.
that's
But like,
fair.
I don't know. I
It
kind of,
definitely helps. It's definitely like the easiest way to break in if you can
yeah,
afford like a 1 to 2 year program. It's
yeah.
like a
I mean,
for sure bet.
all our guys, all our young creative department, or even non-creative department, I mean, they're paying off grad school loans. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah,
We, we go out of our way to try to be generous just because it's cost of living in San Francisco is obviously high, but
of
also,
course.
most of them now, almost all the creatives, they have it's a legit grad school cost.
But what if you were undergrad or somebody that yeah, let's talk to the undergrads then, like right now. Like what can
Yeah.
they be doing? Like juniors and
Oh, they
seniors.
should go. All of them, all of the undergrads who aren't sure or might want to, they should just get a job at a creative ad agency for the summer, whatever they can do, even if not an internship program. Just go work I don't know, be the guy who puts out the snacks for the meetings or,
Yeah.
in the
Just be
mailroom,
in the environment. Get
be in
in
the environment, make friends, find out what it's like, talk to them and see what the day to day is like and what they actually do. And if that would be exciting, I would do that. First and foremost. And the other thing I would do too is I think they should go sit in on like a concepting class in ad school. So they
yeah,
can,
and you can do that.
yeah, before,
They'll let you.
yeah, totally. They'll let you do it. I think,
Yeah. You just say you're interested. I know I worked at an ad school for a little bit.
oh, cool.
You can say I'm interested in going to this ad school
Yeah,
and and you say I want to sit in a concepting class. They'll be like, sure, you could sit in. But if you sell that you're interested in going to the portfolio school, they'll let you sit in.
sure.
Yeah.
Which you are, or else you wouldn't do it.
Sure.
And it doesn't hurt them. So yeah, I mean, I would that's like I said before, the most valuable thing I did in college wasn't anything academic. It was just me being so excited about the possibility of working in broadcasting that I did that more than anyone I know did any kind of thing, in their prospective careers, And so
Yeah.
I know some people that didn't do any type of internship and they just got a degree and then started a job somewhere in that field. And who knows,
Yeah.
just don't want to get too far down the road and get locked into a career doing something you're not excited about.
Absolutely. And I think like for the people that listen to this podcast and they do have an understanding if they're still young in advertising, there are some really great award show briefs that are like for students or
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a great idea.
just follow. I know like we're thinking about opening up an award show ourselves, like something monthly or quarterly. Just go out and take a stab at that because then you're building something that might be in your portfolio rather than
Yeah.
coming out of school with nothing to show.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, what you really want to do is get any brief you can and
Yeah.
write ads and show them to any CD who would look at them. I mean, one thing I will say is that I try my best to write back to everybody
Yeah.
uh, who emails and talk to them or look at their book or whatever. But just know, I know a lot of times you're just looking up work you like, you're looking up who worked on it, reaching out to them, and you feel like, you're a pain in the ass, when you like send them an email. But just know, like, if they don't write back, it's because they're so busy. And
Yeah.
they probably even flagged it, but then of the few days later, then it's too far down to look at. Just keep writing, just keep asking because
Yeah.
most people want to help, guys. Most people be happy to take a few minutes and either give advice or like if you want to work on a award show brief, CD it for me or do something like that. Like people want to help. So
Mhm.
I know a lot of people maybe don't have feel weird about reaching out proactively. And even some people might just go to an ad school and be like, well, they have a placement program, so I'll get it where I need to be. But the more proactive reaching out you do, the better.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm here to help introduce any of our guests to listeners too, if they want a helping hand, but definitely, and if you follow up, actually, they appreciate it for the most part. Like, I appreciate it because I feel bad if I forget, and you followed up, now I appreciate you more. I'm like, "Oh, I don't feel like a jerk
Yeah,
off."
yeah, totally. Don't feel like a jerk. You just gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah,
Be a little, gotta be a little annoying. Gotta be a little annoying.
right.
Same. I mean, same when once you get your first job and you're writing ads. You probably, if you're not on the best briefs, maybe be annoying and
Yeah,
pester to get to work on the best briefs. The
and
first thing
as
I did was the first I started and there weren't any TV briefs going on. There wasn't anything hot, and there was a brief that a couple other teams were on for a celebrity golf tournament. And so I just checked out the brief and started writing on my own.
yeah,
And then I just came in to the creative directors and said, hey, I've got
there you go.
ideas for this brief, and they're not going to say no. They're going to want to hear them. So that's the first time I was able to produce work, just because I wasn't on it. I just,
Mhm.
you just kind of got to do it.
Yeah, and going in, like, physical location helps that.
Yeah. Oh,
If you have an all-in days or a return to office policy and you are in there and you're not working on the best briefs, show up physically
yeah, yeah, for
because
sure. For
you'll
sure.
hear stuff, you'll walk into a room, you'll see stuff on the walls. It's it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But you did get to work on some pretty great briefs eventually, right? I mean,
Oh no, I'm very fortunate. I got to
and
work on a lot of great briefs early.
I do wanna just highlight, like, the Old Spice work and, like, how that came to fruition and what your experience was, just high level on that, because my professors would, shun me forever if I didn't bring that up.
Awesome. Wait,
Yeah.
you want the whole
Yeah.
story?
No, just give me the timeline. Give me the timeline, like, where were you at in your career? What
Yeah,
agency
yeah.
was
I
it?
had
And what did
myself.
the brief look like?
Yeah. Me and Craig went to Wyden, Portland. Well,
Mhm.
we were working on Old Spice was one of the couple accounts we were on. Um, you know, the CD, eventually ECD, Mark Fitzloff, who pitched and won the account, he sold in this campaign, which was really breakthrough. It's a great idea for a campaign. This is, I don't know, probably 2008 ish, 7 or 8 maybe, when he pitched and won it. Um, Spokespeople would be the corniest thing you could ever do. No one did spokespeople. Back then, spots were all like dropping in on a moment, like a scene of a movie or a scene from a sitcom, right?
Okay.
But you went back and looked at the historical reel of Old Spice and saw it was always handsome, fit men, sailors, and other types of people speaking to camera. And so he launched it with that campaign. All the spots had a lot of times it was a celebrity or an athlete or just an actor speaking to camera, which is crazy breakthrough, for the moment. So that campaign was established. Craig and I had done a couple other Old Spice spots, and then this was like December of maybe 2010, if I'm guessing right. Um, Procter and Gamble has some extra media time on the Super Bowl. They have, if I'm remembering the story correctly, they had a warehouse or a couple warehouses full of Old Spice body wash, which maybe wasn't crushing it, and they wanted to do a Super Bowl commercial for the body wash. Um, and so they just gave it to me and Craig. We only had a couple days, but the big, amazing insight, strategic nugget we were given is that while all the other Old Spice commercials Wyden had made to that point were for men, like for deodorant, most of the time, that body wash is bought by, um, even if it's for men, is bought by the significant other of men. It's bought by women. Um, so I mean, we had we knew we were going to have a handsome man speaking to camera, and we knew we were going to talk to women. So Craig sits down and writes, "Hello, ladies," right? So it was, there were parameters in place that led
Yeah.
to that.
And that's
Um,
and great. I was just talking about this, like, the other day. Sometimes the best forms of creativity comes from strong parameters, right?
yeah, oh yeah. There's a famous ad saying, and I should know what famous dead ad guy said it, but it's
Mhm.
like give me the blessings of a tight brief,
Yeah.
or the freedom of a tight brief.
Yeah. It's so liberating.
Because
Which
yeah, yeah, that's when you leave it open, it's just like, wait, what do you want? But if you
Yeah.
tell creatives exactly kind of the point we need to make, what we need to drive home, and we can think of it, infinite different ways, and you'll
Yeah.
end up with something great for sure.
So who came up with that strategic insight?
Um, I don't know the person, or if it was a person at the agency. I think it
Okay.
was pretty. I mean, I think it was a pretty obvious, like, this is what we're going to do with this one. Speak the
Yep.
limit, but it's the
Yep.
first time we had done that.
Amazing.
So yeah, someone came and gave us that nugget, and I mean,
You took it and run.
right parameters, right?
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Amazing. Any other big pieces of advice that you have and you might have thought of before today that you want to get out? Maybe to somebody that's starting out their career. Maybe you're talking to young Eric.
I think it's just, be willing to be uncomfortable as far as emailing and calling. And once you get into a place, working hard, meeting people. And then, I mean, it's just a numbers game in a couple ways. First of all, you're not going to get better at, let's say writing TV scripts. It's something that you only learn by doing. So whereas your first round, imagine a dartboard that your first round of 20 scripts might be scattered all around the edges and none of them even hit the board, right? Then your next, then you get a little better. You get feedback, you get better. Now you're getting some on the board, and then do it for
You
a
did
couple
200 plus, right? Scripts for Skittles.
Yeah. That's like the story I tell often when I'm speaking at an ad school or anything like that, is that, I forget the exact number. I used to remember, but our last Skittles spot was called Pinata, about a man who was kind of a pinata man. And he was injured. He was on crutches and bandaged up because he'd been beaten by a coworker who thought candy was going to spill out of him. But that one was, we, we wrote for so long. And again, this kind of time doesn't exist in advertising anymore, I don't think, but it used to be. There was the Skittles brief, 1 30-second commercial. They'd give it to like 8 creative teams. And we'd have a month go, right?
Wow.
So we would show so many scripts. It was when we left that we decided to count up on that last assignment. In all these rounds, how many scripts did we actually type out and write up? You know what I mean?
Finished.
For that. And it was 260, 270 or 80, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So the only way you're going to get better personally is by writing that much. And then the other thing is, the only way you're going to sell something is by, the more you write, the more likely you're going to get something in the meeting, or more than one thing in the meeting, or most of the work in the meeting, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of all up to you.
Yeah. I always talk about consistent creativity, or forcing yourself to be creative consistently. So like what I do with this podcast, like posting every week, no matter what, whether it's good or not. Hopefully it's good. I'm just trying to be consistent.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta, like, a lot of times, I know young teams sometimes, especially when they're first starting, especially in school, they'll think of the first idea, write it down, move on. Think of the second idea, write it down, move on. Then
Yeah.
think of this third idea, and oh my God, they're stoked on this third idea. It's the best thing you could have. They're convinced this is it. This is awesome. Think of all the ways this could go. Our CDs are going to love it.
Yeah.
Let's say they have 4 days on the assignment. They use the next like 2 days excited about that idea. You know what I mean?
What does that mean? Just think about ways to sell it.
Well, they don't keep thinking. It's like,
Right. They stop.
they write something, they get super excited, and then they just are so stoked on it. You got to, put it to the side, get out of your head, and your job is to generate as many ideas as you can. It's dig shallow holes, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had an old school boss in the industry. Write 50 lines, you would say.
Yeah.
Write 50 to 100. And get back to us.
Oh, we had one CD that I had there at Shy, New York, and he's the kindest man ever. He, sometimes we'd have to write, like when you're coming back from a commercial break to, let's say, a football game, and it's like this NFL game brought to you by Snickers. Snickers satisfies, that line, the little line you could say after Snickers, he would have us write, and we would do multiple rounds of, short little 7-word or less lines,
Yeah. That's what it's about.
and I don't think, I mean, timelines are shorter now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The timelines are shorter. There's little less money in advertising. So there's less layers and less people.
Yep.
Most people are on a few projects at once, and they don't have the longest timeline for any of them. So it's
No,
how you manage that
unfortunate.
has changed. But I think it's good for everyone to know
Mhm.
that back in the day, the best thing you could do was, think of as many executions as you could and put in that work, right?
Yeah. But all right, Eric, how can people reach out to you if you
My
allow?
OnlyFans.
There you go.
I don't know. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's the best way to do it.
Okay. Then
I'm
we'll
easy
put
to
that.
find.
Okay. Then we'll put that in our Instagram at Breaking Entering Pod. You got to go there. You'll
Sweet.
find that. But Eric, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for telling your story, a bunch of advice, and highlighting those campaigns that you worked on that we all aspire to make one day. So it means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Gino. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Of course. Be in touch. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you like what you heard, it would mean a lot to us and help us grow and get better guests and better break-ins if you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars and a small review if you have the time. Be sure to connect with our guests if you like what they said by going to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We have links to their portfolios and their LinkedIn, and they want to connect, so do that. And thank yous. Thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio engineer, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Can't do without you two, and a team from the University of Illinois. It's a student team from the agency called AdBuzz. They're a PR agency, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week with another amazing guest. Thank you so